It is 6:41 p.m. on Tuesday, the 8th of August, 2017. I call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Education of Westminster Public Schools. Again, I ask that everybody please respect the business meeting by silencing your cell phones, pagers, iPads, other distracting devices. We will be live streaming and on Channel 54 tonight on Comcast for those of you who have cable. So with that, Ms. Gleaton, please call the roll.
Mr. Troncho?
Yes.
Mr. Davidek?
Here.
Mr. Math?
Here.
Mr. McCoy?
Present.
Mr. Valenti?
Present. We have a quorum. Let the record reflect that. Do we have anybody lined up to say the pledge this evening? Okay, well, you know what? I see a bunch of principals sitting down here. Let's see if you have any learning gap over the summer. Principals, come down and lead us in the pledge.
Boy, I wish I had a picture of that look they just gave you.
Or make them sing the national anthem.
Hey, do we have flags for them?
Yeah, we can go that far.
Do we have flag pins?
Yes.
I see a couple of you in the back row. You're included.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wait a minute. We have flag pins.
Wait a minute.
Wait.
Principals, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
As is the tradition.
Wear them proudly.
Tiffany,
Our participants.
get your pen.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
We certainly can't break with tradition.
Oh, no. She's got to finish. Okay. Dr. Swanson, who did we actually have in that group there? We had
The first group or the second
the
group?
flag group.
The flag group. Okay. We had Tiffany Kiewit from Westminster High School, our principal there. We had Brian Casina, who is from now Flynn, soon to be Marzano Academy. This is his first year there. We had Heather. Where's Heather? Heather McGuire. She's our principal at Tennyson, and I'm going to bring all new people down here in just a minute, too. Under my report, we had Russ Warwick over at Westminster Academy. Brenda. We had Brenda Martin from Colorado STEM Academy. Did I miss anybody? It was almost like a flash mob, right? Okay.
All righty. Well, with that surprise thing, do we have a motion on tonight's agenda?
Mr. President, I move the Board of Education approve the proposed agenda for the regular meeting dated August 8th, 2017.
I was going to say, you're behind a decade. Second.
I know.
We have a motion and second to approve tonight's agenda as presented. Any comments, questions, or discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Gleaton, please poll the board.
Mr. Troncho?
Yes.
Mr. Davidek?
Aye.
Mr. Math?
Aye.
Mr. McCoy?
Aye.
Mr. Valenti?
Aye. The agenda is approved. We have some minutes.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve the executive session minutes dated June 13th, 2017.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the June 13th, 2017 regular board meeting minutes. Comments, questions, or discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Gleaton, please poll the board.
Mr. Troncho?
Yes.
Mr. Davidek?
Aye.
Mr. Math?
Aye.
Mr. McCoy?
Aye.
Mr. Valenti?
Aye. Those minutes are approved.
Mr. President, I move the Board of Education approve the regular board meeting minutes dated June 13, 2017.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second to approve the executive session minutes dated June 13, 2017 is presented. Comments, questions, discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Gleaton, please pull the board.
Mr. Troncho?
Yes.
Mr. Davidek?
Aye.
Mr. Math?
Aye.
Mr. McCoy?
Aye.
Mr. Valenti?
Aye. Those meeting minutes are approved. Just so it's clear on the record, the board did meet in a study session last week. The study session was open and available to the public. It was properly noticed and properly posted. However, there have been some emails going around. I did make a mistake. There are no meeting minutes for that meeting. There's only study session meeting minutes when there's also an executive session. One of the fun quirks of how the law works. So I'm sure somebody will talk to a legislator and that'll change in the future. But I wanted to clear that up on the record. Dr. Swanson, you're on.
Well, good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, and welcome back to the start of the new school year. It's always an exciting and busy time for all of us. Yep. Thanks, Max. As you know, our new teachers started with us last week, and the rest of the staff returned this morning. And because we have so much important work to do, we decided to change our approach this year. We did a little departure of culture, and we did not hold our traditional welcome back rally at Random, but instead we had staff report directly to their buildings and dive into their work with their principals. And what you see here is a meeting, I believe, at Hodgkins. Is that right, Steve? Yeah. And it's just one of many across the whole district. We created a customized video I did with the help of our communications team. Jeff's not in the room. He's behind the scenes operating everything for the TV channels tonight, but we did some yeoman's duty on his part for sure. And so everything was customized based on, achievement results and that sort of thing. And though all of our schools have reset their accountability clocks over time, and we certainly don't have any schools facing any sanctions, we really do need to make dramatic improvement in our achievement scores this year and move beyond the averages to now reset the district's accountability clock. We're this close, and I believe this is the year to do that. And so everyone has the same message, because I've issued a performance challenge for 2018, make it happen in 2018. And so all of us at ESC, all central administrators, including yours truly, we were in every building this morning, and this afternoon I had a very productive debrief with everyone who was in all of the buildings, and the consensus view was that the morning went well. The message was not only well received, but it's very, very clear in terms of our focus and what we have to get done this year. And in addition to the details laid out in our management action plan, or a management pathway plan, which we shared with our community, by the way, as a reminder in the spring, this summer we also revamped our CBS website to make it more user-friendly and more family-friendly. Right now there are subtitles in Spanish, but Chad, sitting up there, is going to be a narrator here real quick to make that happen for us in Spanish as well. And so we created this video to describe and communicate in very simple terms the hows and whys of CBS in our district, and so I'm going to share that with you right now.
Sorry, I'm getting everything working here.
Well,
This is huge. This is huge. This is the future of education.
In simple terms, competency-based education works because it recognizes that every student learns differently.
I think it helps me because at my last school, I was way ahead of all my classmates, and they were all moving at the same level. And now that I'm here, I can move at my own level and go as high as I want in reading or math.
We all got into the world of education to make a difference for every child. And I think what competency-based education does is it gives you the platform and the opportunity to actually be able to carry that out.
Take, for example, 9-year-old Luz, who is highlighted in our CBS brochure that you can read online or get at your school. Instead of being placed in grade level 4 based solely on her birth date, teachers first determined what she was good at and where she needed help. Luz is strong in math and ahead of her classmates, so she was placed in level 5, allowing her to tackle more challenging work. She was behind in literacy, so she was placed in level 3 so she can get more help.
The system kind of lets us take care of both ends. You know, we can pick up the kids and connect the dots and fill in the holes, and then the kids who are doing really great and are done with their stuff early, rather than just give you some busy work, you can start moving on to the next level.
It helps me by I can move at my own pace and I can challenge myself more.
So how do you know when it's time to move to the next level? It's actually pretty simple. Every level is made up of what are called learning targets, and once a student can show they understand all of the targets in that level, they move to the next one.
At my last school, I didn't really get the help I needed, and I think that's where I fell behind, because here I could just go to my teacher with a sheet of paper. These are the targets I need. Can you help me? And my teacher would always be there to help me.
Just great to hear them talk about what they know and what they don't know yet, rather than just, what do I do?
Level movements can happen at any time during the course of the school year.
We have celebrations throughout the year at any given time, and we not only celebrate the achievement, but we also celebrate the student growth.
We know kids are hooked on video games. Why are they hooked on video games? Because it reinforces their own learning to get to that next level. So it's a self-driver kind of environment, and that's what our classrooms are aiming at as well.
CBS works because all of the information is kept in an online program called Empower. It allows students, parents, and teachers to follow student progress and keep track of class projects, assignments, and homework. Empower follows a student all the way from preschool to high school, keeping them on track for graduation.
Of course we want our kids to learn, and we're not going to allow them to languish, and we're going to push them, and we're going to accelerate them as quickly as we can. But what we want to be able to do is to advance them in various content areas when they're ready.
Quite frankly, it's about the kids. Personalized education is about each kid and their individual needs. And a one-size-fits-all doesn't work in competency-based education. You have to focus on the individual needs of each child.
Across the nation and across the world, personalized learning is becoming much more commonplace because people realize the power that's in this, but the power that's in this needs to be given to the student because the student is the real driver in this system.
Students do even better when their parents are involved.
A parent's role really should be a partner in your child's education, a partner with the teachers that your children have, a partner with the principals. Get involved at your school level, get involved in our district level. There are many opportunities to do that and to stay informed. We want all of our kids to be ready for the day after graduation.
CBS, because it works for everyone.
And you see the CBS website there. So Veronica, if you'll just show everybody when you navigate to our district webpage where that is. So for anyone watching at home, they'll be able to see this as well.
If you start at the main webpage for the district, which is westminsterpublicschools.org, you click on CBS, which is in the blue area, and it takes you straight to the CBS website. And to watch the video, you click on About CBS, and I will pause it. And you can also translate the website to a multitude of languages, but if you click on the closed captioning, click Español, and it will show the subtitles.
This is huge. This is huge.
And so there you can see subtitles in Spanish.
So I thought it was important to do that demo here, just because not only do I want the board to know where that's sitting, but also our community as well, because that's who the audience is for this. So I appreciate everybody's hard work on updating that website over the summer and helping us with the video, again, our communications team. This morning, I'm proud to say, we opened our Westminster Public Schools Early Learning Center at Pearl Mac, which provides daycare for children 3 months of age to 4 years. And right now, we have 34 kids enrolled, and Matt's telling me, Matt Obashan, that we have 3 pending babies, meaning they're not here yet, but I saw mamas the other day, in there when we had our open house. And, for years as an educator, I've been saying we just need to get them while they're still in the womb, and we can do so much more. And I believe Matt told me the other day, Pam, you've gotten your wish now, because people are enrolling before they get here. About half of the children at the center come from the community, and about half are children of our staff. I bumped into several staff members. And in fact, a fun little thing happened this morning we didn't know about. On Fox 31, about a 3-second video ran of a Fox cameraman and his wife's baby's first day. Guess where it was? The Early Learning Center at Pearl Mac. So kudos to our Board of Education for having the vision to realize that the importance early childhood education really makes in the lives of our kids. And just as a reminder, we do have full-day preschool at 9 of our sites this year. We have at least half-day preschool at all of our elementary sites and the Early Childhood Center. And we also do fund full-day K everywhere in the district. So that's a big lift, but an important one. And I want to just recap. I know some of you will probably talk about this, so I don't want to steal all your thunder, but we did have our first ever Welcome Back to School barbecue for our community, and we held that Saturday at Memorial Stadium. And I think it's safe to say we surpassed all expectations. The backpacks that were donated by Staples, all 850 of them were gone within a half hour. And it was interesting. It looked like Black Friday with people lining up early before it opened and circling the stadium. And so I think now that we've done it one time, we know some other things to debrief about to make it even bigger and better next year. But Staples and our other vendors have already committed to providing even more school supplies and backpacks next year, which I think is great. And, my dream is that we can give everybody who's coming to school in Westminster Public Schools a new backpack for every one of our students in the future. And we estimated that we provided meals to around 3,000 people. So thank you to David Mackey and the Chartwell's team, not knowing what in the world we were going to expect on that. And they just cranked it out. So I also want to say thank you to Joe Davidek and his band, Midnight Vinyl, for providing our music. And it was so gratifying to see the smiles on all the young faces and see the strong sense of community that really reflects our tagline, Westminster Public Schools, where education is personal. And I would be very remiss if I didn't thank all of our principals who were there, because it was one big recruiting opportunity. We had kids from District 12 and some of the charters around us. I even heard one principal saying, "You come to my school, I'll give you a backpack." So, they were out there. They were hustling. It was good. And to end my report tonight, I'm going to do something I've done for the past few years, and I'm going to call some people down who are in new administrative positions so that the board has a face with a name. And even if you know the face, some of them have done musical chairs over the summer, and just let the community also have that opportunity to see. So let me start at Flynn. I think you know Brian Casina, who was at Tennyson last year. And Brian, I want you to bring Barb down, Barb Hubbs. Come on, Barb. Dr. Brian Casina, I should add. Lots of things happen over the summer, don't they? Congratulations on that. Now that we've established you're crazy and you did all that work. So just stand down here so I can get everybody lined up. And Barb was at Tennyson also last year, and this year she's going to be working with Brian at Flynn. So we're excited about that. Before this year, Barb was instructional coach at TK, right? Is that true? Okay, great. All right, let's see, from Tennyson Knowles, Heather McGuire, formerly of Colorado STEM Academy. She was the assistant principal there with Brenda. Helped open the school, I believe, didn't you, Heather? From the get-go? 1 year off? Okay, but there for a while. And Heather is going to be the principal at Tennyson Knowles, is the principal at Tennyson Knowles this year. And so we're really pleased with that appointment as well. And Melissa Sandoval, where are you? Come on down. Melissa is our assistant principal with Russ at the Westminster Academy for International Studies, formerly of Hodgkins, right? Okay. You detecting a theme here that
Yeah,
we're growing our own? Okay. All right. And so at Scott, I know you know Tom Evans. I don't believe he's with us tonight. Is Tom? Did I miss him? Okay. But he stepped in when Chad moved to the CLD directorship, and I think everybody in the Scott Carpenter community knows Tom Evans. So that's not a great surprise. And actually, our assistant principal, who was at Shaw Heights last year, Lori, she is now the assistant principal at Scott with Tom. I almost said Chad. I'm looking at you and thinking about Tom. Okay, our Early Learning Center. Kelly, is Kelly here tonight? Where the fun baby room is with all the cribs and the rocking chair, and I might have to take a break and go over there at some point, right? Okay, just wait a few days. Did they all show up today? Okay, except for the pending ones, right? So anyway, it was a really nice open house, and the facility's beautiful. You've got to go over and see it if you haven't seen it. From Shaw Heights, John, where are you? Okay, come on down. John Uradell was the dean there last year. He's now the assistant principal with Mike Carlson, so we're tickled about that step up as well. And speaking of step-ups, Lindsay Lohman, come on down from Colorado STEM Academy. Lindsay was the instructional coach and dean last year, and she stepped in when Heather moved over to Tennyson, and she's now the assistant principal at Colorado STEM Academy with Brenda. So there is the wrap. Did I leave anybody out? I better ask that question, because sometimes I rattle. No. Oh,
yep.
Well, Westy High. How about Westy High? Come on down, Beth Ann, and come on down, John. Thank you for that. How did I do that? Okay. It's because I'm trying to read Kirk's writing. That's what it is. Okay. First mistake all year? Okay. So Beth Ann is a familiar face to Westminster High School, but this year she is going to move from dean to assistant principal, and she'll be our athletic director here at the high school. And John is moving from the Colorado STEM Academy, and he is going to also be on the administrative team here as an assistant principal, John Thanos. So sorry about that. I was saving the big school last, and then I forgot. So there you have it. If you're a graduate of the school district, raise your hand. Okay. Lindsay, why don't you tell the board where you graduated from?
Thank goodness.
Yeah, we won't hold it against you.
See, there are 4 Westie grads and 1 Random High grad, and actually I see another alum up in the stands as well with the same last name, I might add. Mark, wave at the board. Mark's also a Random grad, and we've talked a lot about how important attendance is in a school district, and I remember in a boardroom not so far away, Mark was honored by the Board of Education. I was in the audience in his senior year for perfect attendance, kindergarten through 12th grade. So it can be done. And tell all your friends. Okay? All right? So we might need a pep talk, Mark, for some of these kids, but I'm just letting you know. So welcome. Congratulations on your new positions. We look forward to great things and your leadership. Okay? And that concludes my report, my lengthy report.
Thank you, Dr. Swanson. Anybody have any comments or questions? Just one brief one. So we saw that nifty CBS video and just find animated Steve Saunders to be one of the most precious things I've ever seen.
Like an animated Mr. Rogers, really.
That being said, the hard work begins now for you principals and for your teachers, for the community liaisons, etc. I speak for the 5 of us. We cannot impress enough that we have got to get our parents plugged into this system. We've got to get their students plugged into it. It is the spine of everything that you're doing in the classroom, and ask the questions, talk to them. You can even translate into Algerian, I saw. talk to them, get them involved, show them how it works, help them to understand the competency tracker. There's a lot of man hours in this, hundreds, if not thousands, years of work. And now is the time to really get them involved. Don't let them sit on the sidelines. Bring them in, make them be part of the game. All their questions are answered right there. So go have fun with it. Okay, board discussion. Ken, you haven't kicked anything off.
I'll kick it off right now. How about, we all know the success of Saturday's barbecue event, back to school barbecue event, but the part I liked about it was what led up to that was all of the publicity and social media that I saw throughout the summer that I think, and then a week and 10 days prior to, I kept seeing it on social media a lot. And I liked how we pushed that out. So job well done on that part. And I think Linda, was that her name from Staples that I talked to? Emily. The district manager, whomever that is, she was so excited to see the crowds and couldn't, I'm sure she will wait, but she couldn't wait until next year. She's so excited to get involved again. So job well done in forming that partnership too. And then I'd like to Dr. Swanson and the team appreciate all of the work you all have put in over the summer, getting prepared and setting the bar for the 2017 and 18 school year. So job well done on that. And on the video too, Dino, you mentioned the empower part, how important that is, and especially for not only for our teachers and in-house, but for our parents and how they can actually track. And I think that's so important. And maybe we can use social media to push some of that out, to push that video out, or to get people more involved in our website and how they can get more information throughout the school district or on the school district. So job well done. Thank you, and look forward to a great year.
I think the only thing I want to comment on is, a few things, I guess. We always say we're going to say one thing, and then we talk for about 30 minutes, and everyone loves that tremendously. But I do want to acknowledge the fact that at the study session the other night, we did talk about the management pathway plan. And that is really the big rock for the board, and we know for the district. And I think in a lot of what we're trying to look at, we want you all to have a great year. And we want to make sure that the parents are engaged and that the students are learning and that they're having fun as well while they're learning. I think that's something that's often forgotten. But we also want you to be aware of that whatever comes from the state of Colorado, let your board handle that. You don't worry about it. Let Pam handle that. She does that quite often, and same with the administration as a whole. I think we have a lot of things in front of us and we have a lot of things that are going for us, and we just need that one opportunity to show that we are an excellent district, that we are. And I know that we have a lot of community members behind us, a lot of community members asking questions as it relates to WPS, but we're on the right path. And I'm excited about the school year. As an educator, I'm excited every time August comes around because I get excited. I feel like I'm going back to school as well, especially when you're getting the kids prepped. But good luck, and I wish the best.
Just to add to Ryan, I agree. You guys, you guys are the teachers. You teach, and you do really good at it. And I appreciate all your support you give us when we're down at the state and everything that's going on. But let us handle the politics. I think we're the ones who are going to handle the politics, and we'll work with it. And we promise you that we will work with it, and we'll take care of it. And I think whatever happens this year, just be assured that we'll be down there fighting everything we can for you guys and doing everything. But we're hoping not having to do that this year. I think our plan is to do well and kind of just look at them and kind of give them that smirk and said, yeah, whatever. We know we can do it, because I know we can, because I know we have great teachers, and I think we'll do well. Second of all, on the back to school barbecue, is there a way that we can get Tiffany more of the high school kids? It would be cool to get like the boys, the football players. I mean, those are the kind of things these little kids like to see. And it was great. The kids were hanging around the dancing kids from high school that were dancing, and they were just like totally just looking at it and getting enthused. But that's, I think, how we promote. That's how we get these kids involved in things, having those different things there. So maybe next year we can, try to round up the seniors and they can help out with that. I think that'd be great because they're big role models for these kids in elementary school. I see that all the time.
Yeah, good point.
What was the third thing I was going to talk about?
Me.
Yeah. Ryan McCoy is, no. And the thing I say is, I came from this district and I still love this district. I talk about this district all the time. I'm in sometimes in some big meetings. I was at a big forum, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, it was a national conference I was at, and they were talking about the coming of competency-based system, and all of a sudden on the screen, I sent Pamela a screenshot of it. What pops up? Westminster Public Schools. And then they had questions afterward, and I raised my hand and I said, I'm a board member there. And the next thing you know, I had 50 people coming and talk to me. And that's what we are. And I think we have to really promote that and show. And I think nationally, I think Westminster Public Schools is out there with this. And so be prepared. It's coming nationally. And I think everybody's going to come look at us, how we did it and how we did it right. So congratulations.
All righty then. I've got three quick things. First of all, Steve, your avatar looks remarkably like you, or maybe it's the other way around. I'm not sure. But second thing I want to talk about, last year we had a lot of instances where if there were some kind of problems or conflicts or whatever, some people decided to start at the top rather than go through the chain of command. And it's kind of a novel idea, but it doesn't work so well. The place to start with anything is your immediate supervisor, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of times last year what happened, things would go directly to the board or directly to Dr. Swanson. Now, while they might end up there, that's one thing, but just getting things resolved. I mean, follow, just like in the military, follow the chain of command, because everyone here at this table needs to be at their highest best use, as do the administrators, as do the principals, teachers, etc. So if you can get something resolved, quote unquote, in-house or with your immediate supervisor, that's the way to go. And then if it goes beyond that, then other people will get involved. So that's that. And the last thing, I should say, third thing I want to talk about. Last year, I started the Bring a Friend to a Board Meeting campaign, and I have to say it was a rousing failure. So this year, all you freshman teachers, all you freshman administrators, or if you just switch jobs, I'm going to put the challenge out to you. I want it to be the freshmen versus the upperclassmen. So if you're new to the district or new to your job within the district, try to come just to one meeting a month. We only meet twice. So literally, if you can come to one meeting a month, that would be great, and issue a challenge to one of your upperclassmen compadres to also attend that meeting with you. The problem we have, and Mr. Valenti's pointed it out before, we have some problems with communication, and part of that is nobody knows what the hell goes on here. And I can understand that if you don't show up. So, be involved not only with what's going on in your day-to-day world in your school or your building, but also kind of on this level so that you know what we're thinking and how we're trying to move ahead. So, like I said, we're not going to take attendance, and you don't have to go to both meetings, but decide, hey, I'm going to go to the first meeting in October or whatever it is. So I want to issue that challenge and spread it around between, and it's freshmen versus upperclassmen. That's just the way I want it to be. So let's see if it'll go a little better this year.
Well done, Joe.
Thank you. And I have seen one freshman teacher at a board meeting, and that was when he was first hired, Michael Leinert.
Right.
He came to many of them.
Yep.
And then he said, no, I think I better let them do my work or their work, and I'll do my work. But no, this is going to be a different school year, everybody, no question. It's, as Dr. Swanson has said, no holds barred. We as a board have sat down and said, okay, what's our role in the coming year? We need not to have 10 million distracting things out there. But that goes true for everybody else. We have one major focus, and that is education and achievement and getting this gorilla off our back that the state put on there. And there's no doubt in all of our minds that we will accomplish that. I think everybody knows what they're going to do and what they need to do. Sure, there's going to be 1,000 other things come up, but like Max said, let us handle the politics. You teach. You lead your schools. You put together curriculum. Keep the buildings safe and upgraded. Something we didn't mention, a lot of work happened over the summer. We'll deal with the State Board of Education. If you hear something and it sounds like he said, she said, innuendo, it probably is. Sadly, for some people, junior high, middle school never ends, and they just enjoy starting gossip. I even heard it last year when I was at a family reunion in Branson, Missouri. A couple of people well into their 80s sitting at the breakfast table in the restaurant making up gossip about one of the political candidates running for president at the time. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, you've been out of middle school for 70 years. You really need to get over it. So if something doesn't sound right, like Joe said, talk to somebody else. Talk to a superior in your building. Find out. If something is way off the reservation, they'll know. They'll be able to tell you. Just because we sit on this side of the board, or somebody is an administrator, or somebody's in a different leadership role than you, it doesn't matter. We're all in this fight together, and we all need to work together. And that's our commitment. So if you're telling us that the parents are struggling with something with Empower, and we don't want to hear that you just don't like it. That dog won't hunt anymore in this district. But if there's a legitimate problem with getting communication to the parents, or, hey, there's a technological struggle here, or when you go to sign in on the website, there's a broken redirect link, that's the stuff that we can help fix. That's the stuff, some of it's easy. Sometimes it's, okay, we're trying to get it out there. We just don't have the resources. If we had one more hour of the community liaison in our school, we could probably increase it by 50%. Give us a plan. Let us look at the resources and do what we can to support you. That is our goal. That is our commitment. And that's all I have to say, because I didn't have a good summer. So moving on, unless you have something else, Max? No? Okay. Fantastic. Dr. Swanson missed somebody.
Did.
Who did you miss?
Last but not least, Tig. Wave your arms at us. Hey, Tig was assistant principal last year at Westminster High School, and he's now the director or the coordinator of student services at the ESC up with Dr. James Duffy. So didn't mean to do that. Been a long day. Okay. All right. So.
Okay. Ms. Clayton, do we have any audience commentary this evening?
We don't have any comments.
Okay. All right. Tonight, we have the first of what's going to be a year-long series of educational reports presented to us by Dr. Oliver Grenham on the management pathway plan for Westminster Public Schools. Dr. Grenham, welcome back. Lovely tie. Go for it.
Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Swanson, welcome to the new school year for 2017-18. And I want to start off our education reports with the thing that you already mentioned that's the most important, which is our plan with the state. Okay, can we make that bigger, Veronica?
Yes.
Of note, there's no notes on that slide.
While we're waiting for that to come up, and Veronica, if you go ahead and steer for me, that'd be great. This is also the first year of implementation of the district's management pathway plan, and you approved this plan last spring, which was subsequently approved by the state. But tonight I want to highlight some key aspects of the plan, both for you and for our listening public. There's no doubt that the plan's primary and urgent purpose is to get the district and all of Westminster Public Schools off of the clock this year. And I know there's a quirky system that the state has. The district is the only one that's at the end of the clock. We've got some schools in year 1 of the clock, but because the district's on year 5 of the clock, if you will, effectively that means all schools are on the clock as well. So that's some of the quirkiness that we have to deal with in dealing with the state. But we also want to use this plan to lay a sustainable foundation for system-wide consistency and collective accountability for the future. At your last study session, you received a hard copy of the plan. It's a 60-page document. And today, all teachers across the district receive their personal copy at their opening activities at their school. All principals have underscored the urgency and importance of moving the plan forward to increase scores for all students, and most especially those students who are 1.5 years behind. The Management Pathway Plan describes the role of Advanced Ed as the external accountability partner and Marzano Academies as the instructional partner. These partnerships make sense for us, especially as Advanced Ed is in the accrediting business and has already accredited us for a 5-year period. Dr. Marzano has been involved both directly and indirectly with the development of our competency-based system over time, and is the foremost educational leader and researcher in this area. I do want to note that both these organizations are nonprofits, and both are fully committed to supporting Westminster Public Schools in moving forward, and we all witnessed that last spring with the State Board. While this year will be a planning year for Marzano Academies with the specifics emerging as we progress, the work of Advanced Ed builds upon their findings from spring of 2016. These findings describe the improvements needed in stakeholder engagement around CBS, and Dr. Swanson highlighted some of the communication work done this summer to increase that from a parent perspective. Fidelity of CBS implementation is the second finding that they had, and then really the third one is around deep professional learning. The Management Pathway Plan builds upon these findings, and here are the 4 goals that will be incorporated now into our district's Unified Improvement Plan as we move forward, and will be called Major Improvement Strategies. The first goal really speaks to the consistency of CBS implementation across all schools. The second one talks about the need for deep adult learning, and the third one captures the idea of creating a culture of academic success across the system, as well as teachers, students, and parents. And the fourth one really is about increasing and strengthening early childhood education. Those 4 goals are further broken down into what Linda Keast would refer to as a tree map. And this is the action steps of that plan that addresses each of those 4 goals. Some that are common to all schools, some are specific to others, but 3 examples of common ones are Kagan structures, which are structures that can be employed in the classroom to engage students in learning at a higher level. Empower, we've already mentioned the importance of that and how to go deeper with that in terms of the data that's within it. And as a part of the graduation requirement policy, you approved last spring, it talked about incorporating competency trackers to track on-track progress to graduation from kinder all the way through high school. The next 2 slides really list what Advanced Ed will do that we put into the plan for the course of a 3-year period. However, we know that the state only gave us 2 years on the plan to show significant results. But again, our urgency is to be off the state's accountability clock when we meet this time next year. It's important to note that for any continuous improvement system, one is always looking at the current reality. As stated on this first slide. Just like an airline pilot flying a plane, checking all the instruments as you go. It's actually unfortunate that this point was missed by some of the individuals on the State Board last spring. We are not beginning our work for the first time in competency-based education. We are continuing what we know works and amending where we need to adjust. We're currently working with Advanced Ed to flesh out a detailed management action plan for year 1 regarding the 5 pieces that you'll see on this slide here. And that work is actually being led by a person called Dr. Angie Kopang, who is a partner with David Hirsch. but she will be the one that will be dedicated to the district in talking about these 5 things and leading us through it. I want to take a moment just to describe this slide. The first thing that she wants to do is analyze what are the successful things that happen in some of our turnaround schools. And the 3 that we mentioned in our plan with the state was Scott Carpenter, Mesa Elementary, and Sherwood Elementary, all of which were turnaround schools at one point. So analyzing what they did there. When the new performance frameworks come out for this year, we also want to see what successes we can garner from that. So she'll be leading that work with us. Looking at underperforming schools, and we've already identified 3, Westminster High School, Ranham Middle School, and Metz Elementary, and conducting a thorough diagnostic review of those schools to see what we need to look at there. Then looking at the next 2 in terms of coming up with a process to monitor the implementation of professional development. Tomorrow, and Mr. Lynch will talk more about this in study session, all staff will be receiving training around Kagan structures. Well, we want to know as the year progresses, so how is that being implemented and how is that making a difference for learning as the year progresses? So they'll be helping us with that, as well as coming up with quality assurance practices that we can use through our learning walks. And in January, as we do, we try to get stakeholder feedback. We will be administering surveys across students, teachers, and our parents. So those are the 5 big elements that we're currently trying to put into a management action plan. So more to come on that piece. On the next slide, we have identified dates that Dr. Kopang will be in the district with us, and these pretty much match our district leadership dates. We will be looking at, among other things, data that's collected from the schools on a monthly basis and measuring our progress toward the goals that we've stated, and in particular looking at student achievement if we are making that 1.5 years growth. Today, principals spoke to their staff about the 2018 performance challenge that Dr. Swanson issued. And as part of that challenge, they shared their commitment cards, an example of which is shown on the screen right now. They shared this with staff and they sought their input in terms of goals for the school around achievement and growth. And these are the indicators that matter for moving the needle on the school and district performance framework. So Ms. Jenny Garu looked at each school in terms of where they were in the performance framework and set a minimum goal with our agreement for those schools on achievement and growth in math and English language arts. And on the back side of the card is a direct correlation to the goals that we have set in our pathway plan and what the schools are going to be working on there in terms of process and structures. I know as part of your ongoing commitment to schools, each of you are again acting as a board liaison to several schools. And this year when you visit your schools, you will see how schools are tracking their achievement progress publicly. In addition to the public displays of Scantron data, which will be beginning of year, mid-year, and end of year, you'll see these, an example on the screen is an example of a performance gauge. And this is where we'll track the growth over time by grade level for math and literacy. And that will be updated monthly. And that'll help inform our conversations with advanced ed as well. On the next slide, you'll see some examples of competency trackers. This is what individual students will be using to track their progress toward the required graduation requirements that I mentioned earlier. And I want to do a little shout out to the principals that manned the table on Saturday. We had Russ Warwick, Cindy Davis, and we had Brian Cosina, who shared this information with parents and kind of led them through what this looked like. And I did tell those principals that I thought their table, in spite of the backpacks and the food, was probably the most popular one. Anyway, the other thing that you'll see in schools, and this slide shows a big picture of the art and science of teaching, which really acts as kind of an umbrella for everything that we do within the school in terms of activities, curricula. Can you jump to that slide, Veronica, please? This one right here. There's 3 sections. The one in the middle really specifically talks about the content and learning. These are the skills that students need to walk away with and how to do that. The one on the right is more about engaging students in their learning, and that's where the Kagan structures will really fit. You'll see this poster in schools. We will get you more information about some of the specifics of this, but I would encourage you to be asking principals and teachers about the particular elements you see here and how that may occur within the school that you are liaison to. And Dr. Kopang shared with us on July 31st, and as Dr. Swanson mentioned in her comments about Make It Happen in the 2018 message, it will take teamwork at all levels and lead to collective accountability as described on this slide. And additionally, as part of that collective accountability this year, and this kind of matches Mr. Davidic's challenge to schools. Schools will be providing, and principals in particular, a status report to you about their effort in reaching their performance challenge and finding success. And the last slide here is just a little graphic of, with us all pulling in the same direction, we can truly reach that success. In my visits with schools today, there's a lot of positive energy in the district, and folks find this doable. So we just need to get it done and get off the clock once and for all. So thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Grenham. Board, questions? Mr. Chancho?
What is checking content?
That is a strategy that can be used to break up complex pieces of information into smaller bits that are more digestible. A common thing we say is when we have an elephant to eat, you eat it one bite at a time. So that's things that teachers can use in classrooms to break up big learning pieces.
Anything else? Okay.
I have one thing.
Yes, Dr. Swanson.
When Oliver's talking about collective accountability, I know the board knows this because you've been shoulder to shoulder with us, but when you go into your schools as school liaisons, ask to see the performance gauge that you saw here. That was actually Dino's idea to have it publicly out there, and I think it's a great one. Ask to see and talk about what those key concepts are, because it's going to be the content and the high engagement of kids that's going to matter most in us getting all the balls in the air at once.
We'll get there.
I wish you all a great year, and all of us too.
Thank you, and you as well. All righty, we do have two business items. Let's start with Mr. Leday, who's going to talk to us about people.
I would first like to apologize to Ms. Ann Secor for not putting your name down on the sheet. But rest assured, you're still in our fantasy league as my personal patsy. Mr. President, members of the board, and Dr. Swanson, I've prepared for you a personnel report containing items 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and 5.0 for your consideration and approval. But first, I'd like to highlight a retirement. Miss Antoinette Lujan from the Early Childhood Center is retiring after 27 years of service.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve personnel matters as presented on 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and 5.0.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the personnel matters. Comments, questions, or discussion? You can see by the graphic overhead here, Mr. Leday, why don't you just tell us the numbers?
Okay. For new hires, currently we have contracted 116 new hires. There are still a couple of positions where we're going to be filling over the next few days. We've had one retirement, 25 resignations, no terminations, and then we have 9 extracurricular coaches.
And this is pretty typical of the start of the school year.
Yes, over the last
sky
couple of
is
years.
not falling when
Nope.
you see
No.
those big
No.
numbers.
Nope, we will have a teacher in every classroom.
Fantastic, fantastic. All right, if nothing else, Ms. Gleaton, please pull the board.
Mr. Chancho?
Yes.
Mr. Davidek?
Aye.
Mr. Math?
Aye.
Mr. McCoy?
Aye.
Mr. Valente?
Aye. All right, a lot of new people have been hired, transferred, retired. Go for it, people. All right, the next one belongs to the board. We need to adopt a new policy. This will be policy JLE, And this policy is a very timely policy. It started with some issues last spring, and it involves the administration of medical marijuana to students who need that for their health care. And I think the best way to highlight this is to give the microphone to Ms. Ortiz and tell us what it does and does not do.
Okay, by statute in Colorado, students who need medical marijuana and they've got to have the correct doctor's prescriptions and all that kind of thing, they can use medical marijuana at school under certain conditions. School boards have been strongly encouraged to adopt policies to that effect. And in this case, we have drafted a policy, put together a policy that very closely aligns with the language in the statute. It allows medical marijuana to be administered to students who present the proper certification while at school, as long as they comply with all the requirements, such as when it can be administered, who can administer it. School district personnel cannot administer medical marijuana. Only parents can. They have to bring it in a non-smokable form, administer it, and take it with them. Medical marijuana does not reside at any time in the school. It's only here for administration purposes. It's all spelled out clearly. There's also a form. Any parent who has a child that needs medical marijuana for obviously medicinal purposes will need to complete this form and have it on file with the district. There are only certain areas where it can be administered, and it will all be spelled out in the form to make it very clear to parents, students, to ensure that there's no confusion over when and where and legally what the obligations and rights are.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz. Who wants to be the introducer of this?
Oh, do I have to read the whole thing?
No, just the.
Oh, jeez. You'd be here all night. I'm just looking at this going, I got to read this whole thing. I'll introduce. Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education, in accordance with Policy BG, waive the first and second readings and adopt Policy JLE effective August 8, 2017, without such preliminary hearings.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. For all of you who are keeping track at home, a copy of this policy is presently located outside the doors of this room, C120, 2 copies actually, and feel free to read it. Upon approval, it will be posted within the next few days on the lovely board doc system in our district website, where you find all the board meeting information, where all of our policies live. This, why are we doing it now? Why are we not doing it with 2 readings? We actually started work on this back in the spring, and we as a board collectively felt that if we had anybody who found themselves in this position, we had a gap to fill and we needed to fill it, but we wanted to make sure that it was done correctly and that it respects the intent of the law, dealing with all the federal and state conflict on the issues, et cetera. And we just kind of collectively looked at Holly and said, go do it. So she did her due diligence. This is not one, you're not going to have students come and start smoking pot in your classroom. If they do, you should still take appropriate action. They're violating many policies. This is a very, very narrowly crafted area of the law, and it is very specific, and it's a compassionate, zero tolerance kind of a thing. So, anybody else want to add to it?
2 things. Number one, Holly, you mentioned it, but it is a smokeless. It's
be a smokeless form.
Correct.
And again, students don't carry it ever.
Okay.
Only the legal parent or guardian does.
Just that's one thing, because I've had some comment to me, just letting everybody know that it's written that way, that it does not involve any smoking and marijuana. So, in the policy. Number two, this policy is in other schools, and so this is not. We're not the first ones to bring a policy like this.
That's absolutely correct. In fact, the Colorado Association of School Boards has drafted a policy for schools to use that is similar to this one, although not quite the same.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else have anything else to add? With that, Ms. Gleaton, please poll the board.
Mr. Chancho?
Yes.
Mr. Davidek?
Aye.
Mr. Math?
Aye.
Mr. McCoy?
Aye.
Mr. Valente?
Aye. All right, that policy is effective immediately. This concludes the business section of the meeting, and we will have a brief study session and executive session to follow. We're going to take about a 5-minute break. The next regular meeting of the Board of Directors of Westminster Public Schools, an Advanced Ed and Colorado Department of Education duly accredited organization, will be Tuesday, August the 22nd, 2017 at 6:30 p.m. The regular meeting will be held in the lecture hall of Westminster High School. Notices of meetings are posted in the window of the main entrance of Westminster High School and on board docs 24 hours before each business meeting. And if there is some sort of an emergency, such as a wasp infestation, we will post a substitute location because nobody needs to be starting off the year with EpiPens. It is now 7:41 and this meeting is adjourned.